Well, this was fudging stupid. It's times like this where I wish I could drop more F-bombs on YouTube. Tony, money mark high, sarcastic mark here. You're making yourself look like a complete moron. Even to the point now where YouTubers who throughout this whole thing were on the side of the elite and Tony and AEW, now all of a sudden those same YouTubers are calling you a clown. So whilst I was drinking, smoking and giving a girl the business through WrestleMania weekend, it appeared on my radar that Tony Khan was claiming to have receipts regarding the All In situation. At this point, I am sick of talking about AEW All In 2023. So we're making this video quick but long story short in response to Punk's bombshell interview, which was actually a fairly tame interview. Tony Khan decided to get the Bucks to air the All In footage on Dynamite. Stupid, stupid. I'll say it again. Stupid. You literally see Punk get Perry in a front face lock, or a guillotine depending on the school you go to. Then the two men get broken up by other backstage staff and Samoa Joe. Then the Bucks are working this into a weird shoot work angle with FTR. Did Punk act like a moron? Yes. Not entirely defending his actions here before you marks go wild. But the person who looks the worst in this situation is not Punk. It's not the Young Bucks, and it's not even Jack Perry, who by all accounts is a smart ass and not worth the time of day. Tony, you look stupid here, mate. You were miles away from the situation and claimed to be afraid for your life. One of the comments on the last video made the really good point of what if Vince had acted like this during the Montreal debacle. If after Brett had punched him, Vince was out here trying to air the footage. This is what I've said previously about one of the problems with AEW. Once again, they're focused on the drama and negativity. Whether it's how obsessed they all seem to be with Jim Cornette whenever he gives them a bad review, or Tony's unhinged Twitter ramblings. This whole thing has made AEW look like a bunch of clowns. In Tony's case, I'm going to pull no punches. I think personally that Tony Khan is a solipsistic money mark who thought that just because he could fantasy book and imagine all these cool scenarios in his head, that he was actually capable of being a booker in wrestling. All the while, claiming to revolutionize an industry filled with experienced professionals whilst not knowing arse from elbow, or as Thez would say, wrist lock from wristwatch. And in Tony Khan's case, that's a pretty expensive watch. I know some HR department wannabe is going to show up in my comments yapping about conduct in the workplace. I don't care, this is different, it's a wrestling locker room. It's more akin to a sports team locker room. And if you think there's not physical altercations between sports teams in the back sometimes, you'd be very surprised. This should have been handled like two of the players on your team getting into a scrap. Instead, Tony showed the world he's soft as all hell. And if anything, by releasing this footage, in my opinion, vindicated Punk. Nothing in the footage shown contradicts anything that Punk said. So what was the point in releasing it? Other than to try and play victim like the big bad bully, Punk was going to take out your whole locker room. Saying that with the size of the average AEW wrestler, Punk probably does come across like a big scary man to them. So that's my thoughts. I didn't want to make too big of a video on the situation because it isn't my wheelhouse, but my last video on the topic did well, so I figured I'd give my updated thoughts. My next videos are focused on deep diving into wrestling history, akin to my Nature Boy or Lou Thez documentary, so stay tuned for that. Once again, thanks for all the support lately. This channel is growing way faster than I thought it would, and that's been brilliant. I also really appreciate some of the comments suggesting different types of videos, with some commenters wanting me to talk about superstar Billy Graham and others wanting me to cover the pioneers of women's wrestling, all of which I'm going to be presenting in the coming weeks. So yeah, I've been sarcastic Mark. Tony Khan is a wet wipe money mark. The Bucks are cringe and always have been. Punk was vindicated and I was once again proven right. See you next time.